All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining this time. I am, let's see, looks like we got it good. Yeah, I figured it while we wait for people to start. It's kind of nice to have a little bit of piano interlude. So, welcome to this Development Weekly Recap. I'm going to be going through basically where we are at with the mobile wallet betas, with the desktop wallet betas, with the 5.2 deployment, and also as a part of the new pursuits were the exchange listings. So I spoke with the market maker, and we've been making a lot of progress. They're really cool guys. So they essentially say that they have connections to pretty much any of the large centralized exchanges. So we're going to be shopping around, most likely to Bybit, and I know that was heavily requested by some of the community. Gate.io is another one, potentially KuCoin. Right now we're focusing on exchange listings that are related to kind of something that will bring kind of a good, I guess, a lot of new liquidity into the markets that also don't have like a really exorbitant listing fee, because that's one of the issues with exchange listing is sometimes they can charge. I mean, even the Exodus wallet, if anybody recalls, was close to $1 million, I think, at one point just for a wallet. And a lot of that is a symptom of just all of the ERC20 tokens raising millions of dollars and not really having much to show for it. But, you know, the way that they have gotten liquidity is by getting added to places. So that's unfortunately part of the landscape that we have to navigate. But we found some good ones. Bybit, they're really focused on community. And they do listings based on community. I mean, they're not even always, you know, necessarily about the text. So we're developing right now with Thomas from the communications chair, Gaia Thomas. We're working on the pitch deck, basically. So essentially, it's going to be a synopsis of our community, showing the community strengths, the network strengths, things like that. Like one set statistic that I've been working on more recently is active node count. So in the past week or two, our active node count, well, it's been about almost a week and a half, 2 weeks. We're about 1,770 nodes active on the network with just a 2-week span. So over a month or 3-month span, depending on the mobile lots, I'm guessing we're anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 nodes. I see quite a lot of connection requests. There's a lot of addresses reeling. So that's really good. It's a lot of active nodes, especially for our market cap. We have a high node count. And we have a very active network. Like under the hood, I see addresses coming on and offline consistently. So that's really good. That shows our network health. It shows that our incentives are working great with the proof of stake system. I mean, I remember back in the early days, I mean, Bitcoin, I think in 2015, 2016 was like 10,000 nodes. And these are all incoming nodes too. So I'm not actually tracking non-reachable nodes. These are actually reachable nodes that can actually accept incoming connections. So that's a really good statistic. It's been really cool to actually see these active nodes and these active addresses, because I have been curious. Right now, I have about 100,000 addresses in my address manager, but some of those could have been nodes that were nodes prior and they don't run them anymore. But yeah, right now the total node count for a 14-day span is 1,770. For a 7-day span, it's 1,158. For a 3-day span, it's about 770. So on a daily active node count, 472 daily active nodes, which means they're online 24/7, and then some of them come on and off a little bit more than other ones. So this is actually something that I believe Interactions is working on for the Block Explorer. So they're going to be showing some kind of more network health. And this also gives us a list of nodes. So we want to show like node density too. So we're going to work on plotting that on the globe. Like you see the nodes that you're connected to on the globe. We want to show all of the actual active nodes, right? So I think that'll be a really cool metric to see related to network health, right? And, having, I guess, the number of identities too. I mean, we consistently see a lot of new, let's see, let's do a ledger get metrics. We see a lot of new activity consistently. The average daily contract volume is like 2,500 contracts per day, which is pretty good daily usage. The network's being utilized. People are using it for something, which is important, because if anybody remembers back in the day, if you've ever gotten involved on like shitcoins and clone coins, a lot of them just had hardly any network activity. So today, the daily active contracts is 2,351. This week is 17,220 weekly contracts, and monthly 73,868. Daily active accounts, which this is the actual number of unique accounts making transactions. Daily is about 263 daily active users for actually generating transactions, and that's unique. Weekly 645, monthly about 1,473 active accounts. And then the legacy deposits and withdrawals, we have, and this generally has been something that we've been able to use to measure exchange on and off ramps, because the exchanges ran legacy addresses. But just so you know, if you ever look at ledger get metrics, the exchanges deposits, I'm going to change that key to legacy. But we have been using that as a measurement to legacy addresses, because prior to Trade Ogre, we had just legacy addresses. So right now, so this doesn't always indicate, but just for legacy deposits, there's about 6,700 daily, 127,000 weekly, and 634,000 monthly as far as transferring from Tritium to legacy. And then transferring from legacy to Tritium, there is 84,000 days today. So 84,000 Nexus today has been withdrawn from exchange or legacy addresses. Weekly 572,000 and monthly 1.4 million. So statistically speaking, let's do this, and I'll start doing this a little bit more too, because it's good to see what under the hood is going on, because we only really can measure the community through Slack or Telegram and basic other chat software. So just doing a basic right here, we're at about 8%. 8% of the total volume to and from legacy is actually going to exchanges. So about 92% of all of those are coming off of exchanges, which is good. So that's showing that people are withdrawing a lot of their coins off of Bittrex. They're putting in their own wallets. Trade Ogre is using Tritium, so that's not measured in Trade Ogre, but we have that. So if you're a US customer and you're wondering where to exchange, let's go fill out the order books on Trade Ogre. It's an anonymous exchange. They don't do KYC. They're pretty cool guys. I've really enjoyed working with them, getting it set up. So let's get some liquidity moving over there, because today is the day that Bittrex stops trading. I think in a couple hours, the Bittrex trading will be over. So make sure to start helping fill out those order books so we can start building some liquidity there. And so circling back, let's see, network mint, the daily staking emission is 2,300 Nexus, weekly of 15,000, and monthly 67,000. So that's how much is being minted. The mining daily is 4,500, weekly is 33,000, and monthly is 133,000. So the mining is still about twice of what the staking is. Our overall stake volume, right? Let's see, the daily stake. Okay, so there's 87,000 coins that have been deposited into stake trust accounts and locked off the market. So that means that they're not spendable. Weekly 455,000, and then this month about 200,000. So we've had a lot. I think that would mean that over the month somebody did pull some stake, but for the most part, the last week and day, we've had almost about 500,000 Nexus be deposited into stake accounts and go off the market. So Thomas and me are working on this exchange listing portfolio. We can pass it to you guys too if you guys want to have any input on it. Essentially, it's showing kind of the power of our community. Like that's something that they mentioned Bybit really looks at, is they want to look at community involvement. They want to bring new users onto their platform, and they want to see that you're actually doing good things. So we're focusing kind of on a multi-prong. We're showing, our network statistics, how healthy our network is, community engagement, that's really important, and then technical development, which we have a pretty high amount of commit ratio. Since we've been doing debugging and bug fixes more recently, the commits haven't been as high as they have been prior, but as we're getting more of the 5.2 stuff done, we're going to start seeing a lot more of that. There's a lot of actual code that's not on the merging branch right now that I've been working on, so that will start to show accounting. So we want to really show those three core things. So you guys, the community, if you're wondering what you guys can do to help in getting these exchange listings, is we want to show a lot of support, right? So even today, any of you that have Twitter accounts or any, start reaching out to these exchanges, start preparing them for, hey, Nexus community wants to get listed, showing them a lot of community engagement, community involvement, so that when we get the pitch deck and we send it to them, they'll already have a prerequisite of seeing community engagement prior to that. And then after that, once we send it, we will also want to continue to show community engagement. That's one of the big things that Bybit is looking for. They're not necessarily always into the listing fee, which is cool. So that's one that we're pursuing, is the #1 exchange right now. That's something that a lot of the community has requested. They see it as a very important exchange. They say it's kind of like the new Binance, maybe. So that's one thing. Now, Gate.io is another one that the market makers mentioned would be a good one to focus on. And then, if we do end up getting a listing fee on any of these, then we might have to do a crowdfunding. So keep open to that. We'll see about sending something up like that for listing fees. Gate.io, I think, doesn't usually always charge a listing fee. KuCoin, though, is usually, they like listing fees. But they're, I don't know. We'll see. But those are the ones that we're mainly focusing on right now, right? Those are the really important ones. So let's see, we got, OKX as well. And MEXC is another one. Those are some of the ones. And I'm in contact with Komodo. I've been in contact with them prior. We're working right now on getting it set up on the Atomic DEX. That's another really important one. We're working on getting decentralized exchanges. There's also another algorithm that I've been considering doing, probably not in the immediate, but a little bit further down the road. Being able to store your Bitcoins in your Nexus wallet. Okay, so I have the legacy protocol and I have a lot of that stuff piped in, and we do still support the legacy code. So I can take some of that and modify to just focus on specifically processing Bitcoin transactions and Bitcoin client blocks, okay? And I'll have to actually create a kind of a seed node that's a full Bitcoin node that's running a Bitcoin LLD. So it'll probably start with the Bitcoin LLD. We'll be able to provide our own protocol so that we can run clients on it very easily. So essentially what you'll be able to do when this is done, which if you guys think it's a priority, we can do some votes on it and stuff like that after 5.2 is released. If you guys want me to focus on it, I can. But essentially, you'll be able to store the entropy for your Bitcoin keys in your SIG chain. So logging into your Nexus SIG chain can also give you access to your Bitcoin, okay? And I think that'll be a really powerful feature, because then we'll be able to integrate seamlessly right in there your Bitcoin and your Nexus, and then that sets it up to be able to create a type of atomic swap, a decentralized exchange for Bitcoin to Nexus, right? Ideally, I think that's what I would like to see as far as decentralized exchange infrastructure, and that would be seamless if it was integrated directly in the same wallet. Just like you have Tritium mode, you could have switched between Bitcoin mode and Tritium mode. And then ideally, we could get that working on the mobile wallet as well. And then you wouldn't have to worry about just storing your Bitcoin private keys or having a wallet.dat anymore. The way I would design it is you would be able to actually just use your SIG chain to generate Bitcoin deterministic keys as well, right? And we'll do that by basically creating entropy that we store on your SIG chain and then encrypt it with your current credentials so that if you change your credentials, you're just changing the encryption key and re-encrypting the data, but still keeping the same actual data. And then that becomes the seed that we use to generate our SECP256K1 Bitcoin private keys. So that way you can use your Nexus wallet as a Bitcoin wallet as well, right? And that kind of goes with our ethos. We do like to support Bitcoin. And using the new Constantine database as well, that would be another really awesome, thing to release, is having our own Bitcoin client, right? And that just also shows that we're dedicated to really helping improve the industry. We're not necessarily trying to replace anything. I respect where we came from with Bitcoin. I see Bitcoin has a lot of issues, but we've developed a lot of technology that can potentially help with some of those issues, at least in the near term, and also provide additional value to us as a community, where we can have our decentralized exchange infrastructure integrated directly in the wallet. So if that's a feature that you guys want me to put as a priority, just make sure to let me know. We can maybe do a poll on Twitter or something, or if you guys just reach out to me. And if anybody doesn't know, there was somebody that just reached out, I think, a couple days ago, wanting to talk and saying that they kind of miss me in Telegram and they don't want me to feel, be alienated. I just want you all to know, I'll be back in Telegram at some point in a limited capacity. Right now, I'm just focusing on the code. It does take a lot of time to read messages and respond in Telegram. So that's one reason why I've kind of taken my step back. And I also, I want to raise Nexus to not need me. That's the best thing that I can do for it. So the less that Nexus needs me, the better. But if it does, I'm obviously there for you guys. So in the meantime, if you do have any questions or you want to reach out to me directly, you can always tag me on Twitter, or you can respond to this. That's what somebody did yesterday, and I'm happy to answer your questions. I make myself somewhat available on Twitter for a good amount of the time. So there's that. So I could potentially, since we're getting close, once we wrap up the 5.2 upgrade, then I will kind of do a poll of what features we want next. My current next priority after 5.1, 5.2 is the file system that will allow you to create decentralized hosting, okay? I think that's a really important feature because that ties in with decentralized search, decentralized hosting, and that ties in with the login with Nexus, so that essentially you just as a simple developer can access a lot of these really powerful features without having, basically without having to manage any servers, right? So that's something that I would really, really like to see, because I think server management is cumbersome, it's a pain in the butt, and I think it's inhibiting a lot of people. So ideally, I would like to create kind of a file system that would have kind of a hook as well. So one of my design requirements is to see if I can get a WordPress hosted over the decentralized file system and database engine. So that's going to require kind of distributed sharding for the MySQL. And then we're going to have a PHP interpreter that can be called when you execute that file, which would be processed server side, which depending on who you're paying, that they would be the ones that access that file. So the file system is really, really important. That's one of our design requirements. If anybody didn't know, is it's so easy, grandma can do it. If you guys recall on my last weekly recap, I talked about I got my son to actually install the mobile wallet, and he was able to do it. I've had a lawyer that did work for Nexus, and she actually installed it, synced, and had no issues with it. It felt familiar to her, and ideally, what we want to do is create technology that's so powerful that you won't even really know that you're using blockchain, and that's something that's really, I think, makes something more advanced. Technology matters absolutely, in your ability for it to make things more usable for people, right? So if the technology is so advanced that nobody can use it, then there's not much good in really building it anyway, right? So advancement also lowers the barrier of entry, which a barrier of entry is what you have to learn. So having to learn to copy your 12 words and make QR codes and all this stuff to back up your Bitcoin from a mobile wallet it's a high cost, because the cost of making the mistake of not learning it correctly is potentially 50 Bitcoins. And I've heard stories of that. This happens quite a lot, actually. And then other things like sending to invalid addresses, that's scary too. So we've really focused on making these things really simple and easy to use. And to also focus on powering web. Instead of saying, okay, Web3, it's not that we're not into Web3, but the whole idea of a lot of crypto projects is reinventing the wheel, where what we're doing is we're augmenting and creating an ad hoc to improve, right? And creating something that is more valuable and more usable for people. So currently, the internet is, you've got so many security issues. You got, the Borgate protocol and IP address management, address resolution packets. I mean, the list goes on. There's a lot of architectural issues. That's why the Nexus protocol is starting as an ad hoc, where you'll be able to start forming your own local mesh networks. And then when the satellites get ready, you'll be able to start deploying your own satellites, right? And that's why I'm working on the propulsion system. An electrical propulsion system is, I really believe, that in order for us to have a truly decentralized network infrastructure that is orbital, we need to have our own independent propulsion systems. We need to have our own ability to launch, because when it's something that challenges the status quo, it'll be very easy to take it down. And when we're talking about doing this in China, for instance, like if anybody's seen the statistics for our website, China has been one of the top sites hitting Nexus, because it has the promise to help alleviate a lot of issues that they face in China. And it's a tool that can help them develop their own new systems that allow them to separate themselves from the Chinese Communist Party and to bypass the Great Firewall of China, right? And another simple low-hanging fruit with that is the VPN that people were asking, and that's another feature that's coming around the time of the file system, because right now VPNs are very easily tracked. If you're using NordVPN or any other VPN service, they usually have IP address databases that now indicate those are VPNs, and there's really not too many ways around that. I've actually used those databases to filter out. If anybody remembers the Slack days with Josh, always trying to get in, I made a filter system that detected his VPNs and a bunch of other things, and there's no way he could get in. But so it's a pretty common thing. So it's pretty easy to block those. So that VPN will help too. So we're seeing a lot of interest from China, I believe, because China's really heavily oppressed, and we're here building technology that will help people be less oppressed, right? So in order to do that, though, we need to take into account of all of these possible fallouts from that, right? Okay, let's say, we're launching rockets with Vector, and we get our first few satellites up, but then, something happens where somebody doesn't like what we're doing, or Elon feels threatened, and now you have to deal with the International Telecommunications Union, shut off your frequency license, or shut off your launch capacity, and that's it, right? And then you have to pivot and regroup. So we're anticipating all of these things, which is why I've been focusing on such things. And I will be working on a demonstration for that too. I want to post a video. I'm developing one right now. I have all the supplies for it. So I want to show you guys. You'll see it. It's pretty cool. It's a really interesting effect that I'm studying. It's been around for about 100 years, and it's just this interesting, effect with high voltage electricity. So that's been really cool. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of reiterate why we focus on so many of these things. Some of them may seem kind of like pie in the sky, but there's really a lot of practical reasoning behind these things, and the reason that we're developing things the way that we're developing them, because we understand, at least to some degree, the way the system will tolerate it or not tolerate it, which is a big thing. And I've seen it happen. There have been people that I've known that launched a satellite without a frequency license, and they went after the launch company and they stopped it, right? So yeah. So I just want to kind of put that in your guys' ear. Those are the things to kind of what we're focusing on. I'm balancing the hardware development with the software development with 5152, new feature, current feature, all of that. So let's get back. I did a system get metrics. I think this is also good to show. The total number of registers in the system is 218,000 registers. The total number of global names is 42. The total number of local names is 62,000, and the total number of namespace is 30. Or namespace names is 30, and the number of namespaces is 15. The total number of accounts is 93,356. The total number of assets on chain is 128. The total number of crypto object registers is 31,041. The total number of tokenized assets is 52, and the total number of tokens is 139. The total number of read-only state registers is 850, and the total number of sig chains is 30,995. The total number of staking accounts that are active within the past 3 days is 519. The total amount of stake locked up is 36 million Nexus. So that's a little bit under half of the supply. And then the total number of trust is, 9.7 billion seconds, right? So that's the total collective trust. So if you want to look at your trust score, you compare your trust to that, and that tells you essentially how much voting weight you have. So the system's looking healthy. There's continued growth. We're seeing continued growth under the hood. Now let's get back to the development. So for any of you using the Android mobile wallet, there was an issue with battery feeling kind of draining a little bit faster than we would expect. That has been fixed. We have I found kind of an issue with an old there was a rule that I put in the protocol that was removed at some point by somebody, and so I put it back in and it fixed that. It was causing high CPU usage, so that's fixed. There's also been a lot of other little minor and major tweaks. I don't know if this next beta will have it, but I just finished a time remaining so that when you're synchronizing, you'll be able to know how long it will take before you finish synchronizing the actual number of minutes and seconds and hours. So that's done. I don't know if that's being released in the next one, but then there's just been a couple little cosmetic bugs that we've been solving in the desktop wallet, but I believe they're working on we're on RC17 right now. I believe the last release was RC13, so we're doing a new desktop and mobile wallet release. And I'm still tracking down when you come out of lock screen on the mobile wallet on iOS, it strips some parts out of the framework that for some reason aren't coming back. So I'm still kind of tracking that down a little bit. So yeah, be prepared for some new rounds of beta wallets. But everything has been pretty smooth. I think we've got two outstanding bugs. Other than that, the desktop wallet works in client mode as well. So if you don't want to sync the full chain, you can just sync and run a client. I've been doing a lot of individual cosmetic things. Let's see. If we want to look, I think I'm averaging about 5 to 10 commits a day. Let's see, just doing some different formats. Extra lines, profile status, cleaning up. I added a suspension routine, add routable addresses, last scenes, getting a better state. Yeah, socket stuff. I'm just looking through some of the commits just to give you guys kind of a synopsis of it. So a lot of this week has still been kind of tending to it, but I have been getting back into the 5.2 feature set too. I've gotten to do at least a good day on it, and I'll get to spend some more time on it today. So I got the whole authenticated message system, sign, message, and verify working very well. Relay filters. One of the design challenges was in managing the actual relay nodes and knowing where the relay nodes are connecting or where you're available to as far as to form like a remote login attempt. So it's all looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the progress so far. Especially that we are on track to the wallet release, the desktop wallet release on April 26th. That's about 2 weeks from today. So we are just about there. Well, a little under 2 weeks. So be prepared for if you're helping test. We're doing some testnet builds. I think Kendall's working on those right now. And we'll probably be doing that and wrapping up the rest of the bugs through next week. And then we'll be doing our final round and final beta. So if you guys want to help test, make sure everything's solid, make sure to do that. And then we're also working on I believe Kendall said that there was a type of pre-release system with iOS and Android. So once the mobile wallet gets ready to pack and ship, it should not take too long to actually get listed on the app stores. So that's really exciting. That's been such a long, it's been a long haul. It really has. But I'm glad that we spent the time to do it right. It's working really great right now. There's, still small little things here and there that need to be fixed up, but otherwise everything has been pretty smooth. So, so you guys know the rollout plan again. 5.1 is being released on April 26th, and that is the 5.1 core, the Tritium++ wallet. That's the new desktop wallet that replaces your current wallet. That is not a mandatory upgrade. But then the following upgrade, 5.2, that will be a mandatory upgrade, and that's going to include all of the additional 5.2 features with the crypto API, all of that. the release of the 5.1, there is the peer-to-peer market available. I don't believe we're providing a peer-to-peer market module initially, but as I said earlier, even independent of the peer-to-peer markets, we are using the trading protocol with Finance Debit Any on TradeOgre, and it's working great for them thus far. So that also is a latent support for new tokens that are added in at some point in the future. So that's been really cool. That was really cool to actually be able to get that, because Binance didn't really want to change because they upgraded from Tritium, and same with Bittrex. They're just like, man, it works, we want to keep using Legacy. So all the new listings from here, we're going to be having support Tritium addresses in the Tritium protocol. And so to kind of recap and reiterate that, we're working on the pitch deck for exchanges right now, and we're going to be reaching out to MEXC, Gate, KuCoin, Bybit, and OKX. So your guys' job, if you want to help, if you want to, take some things in your own hands, that's what's going to make things get better. Is the more of us working together for that end instead of waiting around for someone to do something. We all have our parts. I do the code, the DAO works on what they work on, and you guys as the community, and show your support, because that's one thing that really helps improve our listing, to getting more listing. I think that's how we got on TradeOgre, actually, is the community just went and started reaching out to them. There's also a conference that we are talking about doing. My friend Nathan Hawk he's putting it on. I think Mike is reaching out. We're talking potentially about me speaking there. I'm not sure, that's not set in stone, but that should be in early May out in Las Vegas. So I'm just going to drive my van out there and stay in that. So we'll do it as a really nice low overhead event, but that could be starting to get some more publicity on things that are happening. We're working on the exchange pitch deck that's showing community involvement, strength of the community, strength of the network health, code development, all those things. Kind of, it's just a brief 2 or 3 page document to show, who we are, what we do, and where we're at. And, so make sure that you guys, reach out to these exchanges at some point, and start to prepare the soil, prepare the ground for, hey, would you list Nexus with Bybit? Would you list Nexus? And then we'll have the market makers reach out to them. So you guys know too, in the future, the market makers right now, we're engaging with them to help with getting exchange listings, but we have discussed about market making services as well. So they will be helping do that at some point in the future. We will need a little bit more liquidity, or how should I say it? We'll need a little bit more income at a little bit higher price to be able to support that. But once we get there, we will have them essentially working with us full time to make sure that we have good liquidity, that the spread is closed between the buys and sells, so that'll help the market be a little bit more stable. I know that's one thing that Binance did, is they had their own internal market making services. They acted as a market maker on the exchange. So that's one reason why there was more available liquidity. So this market maker, we're starting with engagement and getting on these exchanges, but we're going to continue to engage with them to have market making services to essentially help with liquidity and spread and arbitrage between all the different exchanges. And from here forward, we're really going to be focusing on getting more exchanges consistently. One reason that we've been somewhat delayed in reaching out is just being in that between, Legacy and Tritium Plus Plus. And, there was a couple of new commands that needed to be improved and finished before we could get exchanges listed. So it ended up being at a perfect timing because Finance Debit Any was done. So TradeOgre was able to list us. So we're going to continue to be pursuing that. And our relationships does that too. So if there's any good exchanges that you guys like and you would like to be traded on, reach out, let us know. The market maker says they have a good relationship with just about every exchange. So it's pretty much pick and choose what we want. So we're most likely going to be focusing on Bybit first, potentially OKX, and NEXC, MEXC, and Gate. Those are going to be the ones that we really, I think, will be focusing. Gate, I think, has listing fees, but there are ways around that. I also offer technical collaboration to help them, and that's something that I've discussed with Komodo. That's actually how our conversation started, is the lower level database. They wanted to collaborate on the lower level database and implement that in Komodo. So I'm going to continue to build that relationship as well. And that'll be really cool to have other coins starting to integrate some of our tech stack too, and how they work. So yeah, I think that's just about it for this week. Just been a lot of debugging this week, a lot of working up and a bit of new feature build out, but mainly just tidying up the desktop and the mobile wallet, getting all these things dialed in and ready to go. So 5.1 is coming out April 26th, and then after that point, we will be setting the release date for 5.2, which will include the hard fork. That may be named 6.0 because technically hard forks we do change the major version number. But 5.2 wasn't initially anticipated to be a hard fork, but then just with some monitoring the difficulty and stuff, I felt like it would be warranted to improve that while we're doing such a major overhaul. So that's to look forward to. And then the mobile wallet could come before that, but it'll most likely be coming after that because I don't see a point in releasing a mobile wallet to just have a mandatory update thereafter. So the mobile wallet will most likely come out pretty soon after the hard fork activates. So that'll be released, and then there will probably be about a 3 to 4 week run up for you to upgrade your wallet and get on the new chain. And then the mobile wallet will be coming in after that. And then as for the next priorities, as I said, I'm working on at least basic decentralized file hosting and decentralized management of trust, decentralized DNS records and stuff like that, to kind of create a decentralized hosting environment. There's a lot of people I already know that would be using it pretty immediately. So that's I think going to be a really big feature that helps build adoption. Developing an entirely new hosting and search-based system. The conventional ones that exist, such as Odyssey, are really driven on a centralized server cluster. They do back their files up with IPFS, but if their servers are ever taken down, Odyssey goes down. So it's not really, it's got a decentralized backup. The whole thing in the front end is centralized. And that's the only way that they're able to actually do search. The only way to really do search now is through centralized search algorithms. You have to load everything up into a centralized database and a structured query language. But now that we have our own structured query language on chain, we can do that in a decentralized way. And that's something that I demonstrated last year at Acapulco in 2022 for Ernest Hancock, just showing how you could essentially authenticate different IPFS files. So that's essentially going to be the file system API. So that's what my priority is. But if you guys like the Bitcoin wallet idea and all those other things, or you want to put the VPN features up higher priority, feel free to reach out and we could do a poll or something like that on Twitter. Once I finish up all of these updates and stuff too, I'm still working on the Constitution kind of on the side. It's I think like 5 to 6 pages right now. Once that's done, I'm going to be coming back in a Telegram. We're going to get that ratified to make sure everybody agrees with the rules of the DAO, understands that, and then we'll do that on chain. We're also, let's see, Phil has started a private, essentially we're working on our different organizational structures in order to manage ourselves and isolate, essentially keep ourselves insulated from the ability to be regulated too much by being kind of more private focused. So we're working on a lot of those, so you'll see, keep your eye out for that. And then, yeah, I think that's about it for this week. So if you guys have any questions or you want to, we're taking the list for development priorities right now. As far as features that you want, I know pooled staking was a hot feature as well. So most likely the update after 5.2 will be pooled staking and the file system with search and potentially the VPN too. And I think that'll be a really cool feature set. And then I might get into some more of the augmented contract stuff with op execute and stuff like that, just depending on how I don't want to put too much out requirement wise, because it can be time consuming. I tend to get a little bit over optimistic and what can be achieved in a certain amount of time, because I do significant progress very, very quickly, but I just underestimate how little time it feels like there is anymore. But so I'm working on that, but appreciate everybody bearing with me. And yeah, I think that's about it. So for the next one, I think I might move. They're just going to probably shift between Thursday and Friday. I've been working on shifting my work week to Sunday, starting it on Sunday to do the development recaps on Thursdays. But it just might shift around. But if you want to put any suggestions of what a day is better for you, Friday does feel kind of nice because then I have a full week to really get everything done, and I'm not constrained on Sunday to have to get that. And sometimes there's family stuff on Sunday I got to take care of too, so it's not the best beginning of the week. But anyhow, I appreciate everybody, and yeah, make sure to be showing some of these exchanges that you're interested, that we have a good community. Try to rally other people together too. Right now is the time for us to bond together and band together to work to develop this. Right, Nexus is a community-driven project, and so it takes the community to be engaged as well. I'm focusing on my development and reaching out and developing relationships and all those things to improve the overall network, but it's up to you guys too. So just remember that if you ever feel like there's something that needs to be done, do it, and find a way to do it, or ask for help if you need to know too about what to do. The best thing that we can do right now is rallying people together to show our interest in all these different exchanges, to show that there's a lot of community support behind Nexus, to show our growth, to show our statistics, and then we'll get the pitch deck, and then that should help. Like I said, we're focusing on Bybit first. All of those things together, I think, will really help a lot. If you're a U.S. customer, go set up shop on TradeOgre. It's totally anonymous. You don't even have to verify your email account. You literally just go create an email address and then two-factor authentication, and boom, you're done. Totally anonymous. People are starting to get over there and trade more, but I've spoken with the dev, worked with them quite a lot, and I liked them. They seem like good people. They know what they're doing, so I wouldn't be too concerned about losing anything and not trusting them. They've been around for a while. They seem really good. So yeah, if you're a U.S. customer, let's go start filling in those order books. And then if you are interested in any of these other exchanges, reach out to the ones. Maybe start forming your own little groups too. Like if you know people that have been promoting Nexus together, start forming some groups and going out, man. The buyers and numerous, man. The power in numbers. We have a lot of power together, so don't forget that. So let's keep rocking and rolling, guys, and until next time.